The Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure, yet another one of Universal Orlando Resort's many memorable coasters. Not maybe memorable, but many iconic coasters, shall I say. And oh my gosh, what a ride this is. Is it my favorite steel coaster? No. But is it an amazing one and deserves to be in my top 3? Yes. So today I'm sharing my thoughts on this B&M launched coaster, and the reason I love it so much is it's because it's kind of rare. There are only 2 B&M launched coasters in existence, the other one being Thunderbird at Holiday World. So this coaster is awesome for being a cool launch B&M. First, let's talk about location. This coaster is partially built over water, mainly the Cobra Roll, and it is so picturesque. I could get some great off-ride shots. My dad could too. And then after that initial 0G roll that goes behind the launch tube, or the launch track in the tube, or whatever, I don't know what to call it, just a launch track. Let's just call it a launch track. After that, it's basically, there's no, theming at all, except for some, broken rocks. I don't know if that was, there to, I don't know, have, maybe, Hulk is breaking everything apart and all that, and you're just basically going on a rampage, because there's a final loop, and then a brake run, and then and then a corkscrew or two, and then go into the brake run, and into the, final brake run, and let's talk about the theming. So first, the location was good in the first part. Then it's like Rip Ride Rocket. It's good in the second half, but then dies down toward the end. Now let's talk about theming. Theming on this was amazing. Most of the rides at Marvel Superhero Island, including Doctor Doom and Spider-Man, have that Marvel Comics feel. This one feels more MCU kind of. So you're volunteering for General Thaddeus Ross's gamma thing. I don't really catch up on the story. I think it's you're transforming into a super soldier. Yeah, you're transforming into a super soldier, mainly just another Hulk. There's videos in the queue that display average citizens turning into big Hulk versions of themselves, and there's a cool plasma ball in the queue that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. So it's pretty good theming. I will say Harry Potter has the most theming of all the rides at Universal, but the queue's pretty good. The single rider could use a bit more theming though. Mainly it's just stairs that go up after the metal detectors. And then another thing I want to talk about too is the queue was kind of inefficient. To get to single rider, first you must travel through maybe one half of the main queue to go branch off to single rider. So I thought that was kind of an inconvenience, whereas Rip Ride Rocket's single rider has a whole separate line. This is the single rider's kind of woven into the main queue, kind of. Next, let's talk about speed. This coaster goes 67 miles per hour, a few miles ahead of Rip Ride Rocket, and honestly, it does not feel like 67 miles per hour at all. It feels like 87 at the most. This coaster is so intense with that initial launch and all that. It gets up to 67 real quick, and it doesn't even feel like 67, which is pretty cool. Especially, I think that launch really does it, really sets the whole mood of the ride, really feels like you're just bursting out of that launch chamber into the next coaster, into the coaster, ahead of you, and it is just so intense. That launch was insane. That launch just catapulted me out. I could feel all the G-forces just pressed against my body, boom, and it was just a very intense launch, and definitely the best launch I've been on. I bet a lot of people have ridden like, accelerator, top load, dragster, and all that will probably disagree with me, and will say it's the weakest launch, but maybe it is, but in my opinion, it is a very forceful launch, and I love it. So this launch is getting an 8 out of 10. Sure, there are more forceful launches, but I actually changed my mind. Sorry, I changed my mind. This launch is getting a 10 because that launch is insane. Moving on to airtime, and this is getting a 1. Wah, wah, wah. Frankly, this coaster only has one little pop of air, and with a B&M launch being inversions, it's more focused on intensity, in my opinion, than airtime like RMCs or B&M hypers or gigas or any of that. So yeah, I only got one pop of air, and that was the 0G roll out of the launch, and it was okay, not the strongest airtime. Mako's airtime is definitely way better, and stay tuned for that review because that is coming soon. You won't want to miss that. But yeah, it's getting a 1. It was kind of meh. This coaster's more focused on the coaster's more focused on intensity and inversions and speed than it is airtime. For my final 2 categories, it is soundtrack and smoothness. Now first, let's talk about the soundtrack. I absolutely love the soundtrack to this ride. It fits the ride intensity so well. It was composed by Patrick Stump, and it's like this big like superhero mixed with rock kind of soundtrack. I'll let you hear a little sample of it right now. So yeah, you can understand why this soundtrack is so awesome. It just fit the ride so well, going out of that launch track and soaring through the skies at 67 miles per hour while you're hitting. So yeah, I think Universal did a great job with this soundtrack, and picking the guy who did this. Universal did a really good job on this ride's special effects, especially the lights in the tunnel and the soundtrack as well. Soundtrack just suits the ride so well, and it's awesome. Next, let's talk about smoothness. This is the second category before I get to my final score, and I will give this ride for its smoothness. I will give this ride I'll give it a 8 or 7 or 8 out of 10. More 8 out of 10. It does have a little B&M rattle, quote unquote, but it's not as strong as some other coasters. In my opinion, Rip Ride Rocket has a more rough rattle to it, and honestly, I was fine on both of them. Especially toward that helix around the launch track is really where it really gets kind of rattly from what I remember. But yeah, this coaster has a rattle, but it's not too strong, and it didn't bother me a bit. So for my final score of the Incredible Hulk coaster, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Congratulations, Hulk. You are one awesome coaster. Not my favorite coaster in Florida, but definitely my number 2. It is very awesome. Again, it's not about airtime, and some people may say that it's overrated, especially Coaster Craziness. Goes up to him. But honestly, I think, yeah, it is a tad overrated, but it's good. This coaster is not centered on airtime or flying or anything. It's just centered on being a Hulk, pounding through these inversions and the awesome layout. Seriously, this layout is awesome. I mean, you have a launch, a 0G roll, a Cobra roll, a vertical loop, a tunnel with mist in it, and a helix that wraps around the launch track. That's pretty cool, if I might add. A pretty good layout and it kind of dies down at the end, but I'm getting off topic. Anyway, for the final score of Hulk, yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. It's just more about pounding through these inversions, and it's more centered on intensity, and I think that's what makes this ride good. So, what do you think of the Incredible Hulk coaster? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear all your thoughts and comments about this amazing B&M launched coaster down in the comment section below. And in my opinion, I think B&M should really make more launched coasters, like drive tire launch coasters. There's one on Planet Coaster called Fusion, created by Coaster Fan 312. That's pretty good. Too bad it isn't a real coaster though. It's just a game. But I wish B&M would make more drive tire launch coasters, and because this one was certainly super awesome. This coaster actually got refurbished in 2016, but it's not history lesson time, John. It's what do you think about the Incredible Hulk coaster in the comments? So if you like this review, give it a big ol' like, comment below, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell icon, share with your friends, and I will see you later, and stay tuned for a maker review from SeaWorld Orlando. Bye!
Let me show you something.